StrayAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself. It's going to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the market is never, ever, ever wrong. I'll explain what I mean in a moment. Before I do, remind you of two things. First of all, daily motivation, Monday motivation messages guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point, start your day, your week, respectively. All you got to do to be getting this message is text me at my number 305-384-6894. And once we start sending the message out again, and we will, you'll be getting that straight to your phone. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the place where you can have me as your direct coach. That's the only place I do any direct coaching, but I do a good amount of it. That's the place you get access to all of our trainings, frameworks, and courses. And we have a lot of them. All right, if you see how much material I put out here, imagine what you get inside the university. This is a real life university experience. You get a real life educational stuff that you can start applying right now, not stuff that you have to have indoctrinated in you, memorize, and regurgitate for the purpose of getting a piece of paper that may be useless for you and actually costs you more than it makes you. All right. Instead of doing that, come into a real university, which is Work on Your Game University at workonyourgameuniversity.com. That out the way, let's get into the topic, which is the market is never wrong. So let me tell you a story that led to me talking about this. There's a guy by the name of Shaquille O'Neal. I think most of you know who Shaquille O'Neal is, even if you don't play sports. Shaq is a 7 foot tall, was known in basketball as a big man, who played in the NBA from the early 90s till the first decade of this year. I think he retired around 2008. Shaq had a long, storied career, Hall of Fame basketball player, won 4 championships, and one of the most dominant players in the league during his time. Now, Shaq, these days, you may know that he works on TNT, the cable network, on a TV show called Inside the NBA, very popular, good TV show talking about basketball. And Shaq has, I believe he has his own podcast still. And he does a good amount of media. He'll do interviews and appear on other shows and stuff. So Shaq has pretty much made himself into a media personality, at least as far as what we see him publicly these days. I know he does other business stuff behind the scenes, but he's made himself into a media personality. He does a good amount of interviews. Now, Shaq, being an older player, he retired. Again, he was in his late 30s in 2008. So Shaq is probably, I would guess Shaq is in his early 50s these days. So let's find out how old Shaq is. Shaquille O'Neal. He was drafted in, let's see, he was born in 1972, and he started playing in the NBA in 1992 as a first round pick. And he was born in 1972. I'm recording this in 2024, so what does that make Shaq? 50? 52 years old. Yeah, 52 years old to this day. And Shaq is one of those older players who I want to make sure, when Shaq says stuff, I want to make sure I don't become the way Shaq talks about it. Shaq tends to generally, Shaq tends to shit on the current generation of players, especially players who it appears to me Shaq believes he was better than. And actually, I agree with him. There are a lot of players who, at least the big guys, I'm talking about guys that are around Shaq's height, guys who are like 7 feet tall and more of those guys, he talks about them often, and often Shaq will shit on them because, this is just my theory, I think that Shaq looks at them and says, if I was playing at the age that that player is now, when I was that age, I would have kicked that player's ass. And I believe Shaq is correct. He would have. Most of the players playing in the league today, at Shaq's height, when Shaq was playing in his prime, he would kick most of their asses. I do believe that this is true. So Shaq comes off as a bit of a hater when he's talking about some of these current younger guys. Now, why does he care? Because there are many players, like Michael Jordan could say that. If Kobe Bryant was alive, he could say it. There are many players from back in the day who could talk about players playing today and shit on them because they're like, yo, I was better than this guy, and this guy's getting all this attention. He ain't even that good. Well, one of the reasons is because the money in basketball has grown exponentially, even from when Shaq played, and he stopped playing. It wasn't that long ago. Many of you were alive when Shaq was still playing. Right? He stopped playing, 16 years ago? Most of you are over the age of 16. The money has ballooned even more, and people are talking about pro athletes being wildly overpaid back in the 90s. So imagine what the money was like in the early 2000s when Shaq was playing, and now look at what it's like now. There are players making $50, $60 million not for the length of their contract, $50-60 million for one season. And basketball players only play 6 months a year. So 6 months a year, you're getting paid $60 million. I can see why some people can be kind of pricked by that. And someone like Shaq, who wasn't able to earn that type of money, might be mad that, shit, I could have got that money. I should have just been born later. I would have made more money. So let's see, looking at Shaq's salaries, because Shaq got paid a good amount when he was playing. It's not like he's broke, or at least not like he was paid in a way that would leave him to be broke. Let's put it that way. I don't know what his money is, but let's just say. During Shaquille O'Neal's career, looking at these numbers, Shaquille O'Neal earned at least $10 million per season for, I'm just looking at the numbers here. It looked like he did this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 times Shaquille O'Neal earned at least $10 million for a season of NBA basketball. And according to basketballreference.com, them counting up his contract, Shaquille O'Neal earned on the court, just playing salaries alone, $292 million as a basketball player. This is just off their estimations and their understandings of the contracts that Mr. O'Neal had. $292 million. Now, I'm bringing all that up to frame what I heard Shaquille O'Neal said. Now, he was being interviewed on some podcast, and Shaq was dissing a current NBA player by the name of Rudy Gobert. Now, many of you probably have heard of Shaq. You may not have heard of Rudy Gobert unless you're a diehard basketball fan or unless you're French. Rudy Gobert is French. He lives in America. He plays in the NBA. As of this recording, he's a member of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Rudy Gobert is a very good player. He's known for his defensive presence, but he does not have the offensive ability of Mr. O'Neal. He absolutely does not. And if you had to ask me who's the better player between Shaquille O'Neal and Rudy Gobert, then the answer is clearly Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq is a better player than Rudy Gobert, even if you could take any aspect of the game and compare them to, there's no comparison. Shaq is a better player than Rudy Gobert. But now Rudy is playing in the NBA right now. And even though Rudy is not as good of a player as Shaquille O'Neal, I'm looking at his basketball reference thing here. And all of this is part of framing what I'm talking about here today. Looking at Rudy's basketball reference, his career has not been as long as Shaq's. He hasn't played as many years as Shaq, but because the money has gone up so much, Rudy has earned over $10 million a year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. But already his career revenue, not at Shaq's level yet, but close, he's earned, according to basketballreference.com, $217 million in basketball salary alone since he's been in the NBA. And Rudy, actually, when I say I gave you those years where Shaq earned over 10, well, Rudy's numbers are over 20. Those numbers, those years that I just gave you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, he's earned over $20 million per year each of those years. I'll tell you the numbers. $21 million in 2018, $23 million, $25 million, $27 million, $35 million, $38 million, and the past NBA season, $41 million. And I don't know what his contract is I do know. I see it right here. For the upcoming season that is about to start, by the time you hear this, the season may have already begun. Rudy Gobert is going to earn $43 million. And next year, he's already under contract, the year 2025 going into 2026, Rudy Gobert will earn $46 million per year, which means, long story short, by the end of this contract, we're adding another 80, almost $90 million to this contract. Rudy Gobert, by the end of his contract, will have made more money just from basketball salary than Shaquille O'Neal did. Now, all that said, can I understand why Shaq would be a little annoyed at that? Yes, I can. I can understand that because Rudy Gobert is not as good as Shaquille O'Neal. If you're a basketball fan, you understand this. Not that Rudy Gobert is a bad player, but he ain't better than Shaquille O'Neal. And so I understand how Shaq is looking at this like, man, if I was playing now, looking at the scale of these players, I should be making like twice as much as them. Shaq would have probably earned $1 billion on the basketball court if he was playing right now, relative to the money that these players who are not as good as him are earning. So I 100% get it. So Shaq, if you're listening to this, I get it. Now, again, as I said, he tends to have a sore spot about all of this because, again, he ain't getting the money. Shaq famously, back in the late 90s, I believe is when he first came to Los Angeles to play for the Lakers. He signed a contract for $120 million, and people went crazy over that number. Like $120 million for this guy. It's not that anybody didn't think Shaq was good, but at that point, he had not yet won a championship. People are like, they're paying for this guy's potential. He hasn't proven it yet, but he eventually did go on to prove it. Now, again, Rudy Gobert, if you're not a basketball fan, you have no idea who Rudy Gobert even is. He signed a similar length contract for damn near twice as much money as Shaq got. Which again, if I'm Shaq, I get it. I'm like, oh wait, how's this guy getting twice as much money as me, and I'm 10 times better than this guy? Shaq 10 times better than Rudy Gobert. Can I say 10 times better? Maybe not 10 times, but maybe 5 times. He's better than him. All right, so you give me your number, but I understand Shaq's position. At the same time, Shaq, again, all these media appearances, he makes these comments and he talks down about current big men, how they are. And the phrase that he used, he said, these guys are not worth the money. He actually mentioned these guys by name. He'll mention Rudy Gobert and say, how's Rudy Gobert making this much? All right, what he's doing, he's not worth the money. He is not proven to be worth the money that he is making. And that word worth is what got my attention because I saw this on X, the only app where I engage in back and forth commentary with people. And I got into conversations with people about this. A bunch of people were defending Shaq and saying that he's right, that Rudy Gobert is not worth the money. I countered by telling them what I'm going to tell you here in today's episode, that today's episode is a business lesson because a lot of these fans didn't understand what Shaq, either Shaq doesn't understand or he's just colloquially trashing the players anyway. Maybe Shaq does understand it. I think he does. But because this is a sore personal spot for him, he pretends to not understand it. And what I'm going to give you in a business lesson here today is that the market is never wrong. In other words, what Shaq got when he got it was what the market was, and what Rudy Gobert got, or what he's getting right now as he's getting it, is what the market says. And it's just how it is. And even if it may piss you off that someone who compared to you ain't shit, and I'm talking to you all on it right now, not Shaquille O'Neal, someone compared to you ain't shit, but for some reason they're getting more than you got for doing the same thing, and you're way better than them, the market is not wrong. You may be annoyed about it. You may think that they're not worth. You can think whatever you want to think, but the market is never wrong. Let me explain. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is the market is never wrong. Number one, the market is like the weather. So when I say the market, for those of you who don't understand what that means the people who can and will pay you money for what you offer. That's the market. So if I decided that I wanted to be let's see, something I can do. I decided I'm going to go work in a circus and be a clown in the circus, or do the flying trapeze in the circus. The market for my services are whatever money I could possibly get. And if the market says we're not interested in you, Dre, then the market is what the market is. They're just telling me the truth. That's what it is. And the market is never telling a lie. So the market is like the weather, being that it's an objective reality. The market is an objective reality. So if you're trying to get into a certain industry and nobody in that industry is willing to hire you, even though you've submitted thousands of applications and resumes, the market is giving you a loud and clear message that is not interested in what you're offering. That's the market. As an entrepreneur, the market gives you a slap in the face every single day of how it values what you're bringing to the table. And the market are just the people who know about what you're offering. So there may be some people out there who don't know about what you're offering. If they knew about it, they would give you a positive response. But since they don't know about it, then your market are the people who do know that you exist. That's the market. The market is not an opinion, ladies and gentlemen. The market is an objective reality, the same way the weather is an objective reality. I'm looking out the window right now in Miami, Florida. It is partly cloudy, good amount of clouds, because we're in the season where you get these isolated rain showers damn near every day. So it's partly cloudy, but it's hazy, hot, and humid outside, as usual. That's the weather. All right, there's nothing I can say or do that's going to change that weather, because it's an objective reality. Does everybody understand me? The market, by definition, are the people out there who are capable of and willing to pay money for what you do. So if you sell bikinis, for example, a lot of bikini sellers down here in South Florida, your market are the women who would actually wear the bikini at the pool or the beach, or maybe at a fashion show. Men are not really your market unless you're selling to men who might be buying for a woman. All right, that's your market. If you are selling replacement parts for a Toyota Camry, the market are people who have Toyota Camrys for which that part is compatible with their car. All right, that's the market. Not like people who own Cadillacs are not your market, and not people who take the bus or the train to get around. They're not your market. If you're an NBA basketball player, your market is not the fans. And this is what I was attempting futilely, for the most part, to explain to fans on social media, but I knew they weren't going to get it. I was just making my point anyway. Your market is not the fans, because the fans don't pay you. Your market are the people who pay you money. So anyone who's not paying you money is not the market. Now, if they are interested in paying you money and they're trying to, they're part of your market. But if they're not your market. And this is the reason, this is something I've been telling entrepreneurs for years when it comes to social media. Not everybody who follows you on social media is part of your market, because there are people who follow the stuff that you put out for free and will consume all of it, but they have no intentions of ever opening up their wallet and giving you $1 for anything. But as long as you keep putting out stuff for free, they'll take it. So the people who are willing to give you $1, those are your market. And the people who are not, they ain't your market. you can appreciate them, right, and value them and say, I appreciate the fact that you're liking my Instagram post, but they're not your market. If they're not willing to spend any money, if they're not willing or they're incapable of, they're not the market. The market are people who will give you money. They will not give you money, or they cannot give you money. They are not your market. This is why all of you who are publishers need to be careful how you use social media and how much you value social media metrics, because they're not the market. Okay, everybody following me so far? Okay. The market as a basketball player, if you're in the NBA like Shaq or Rudy Gobert, the market are the teams who have the ability to sign you to a contract, and thusly they can pay you for your services. If they can't pay you, it doesn't matter what they think. So if the Miami Heat decide to sign me today to a $50 million contract, there might be a lot of people like Shaquille O'Neal who are mad at the fact that they signed me to a contract. This guy hasn't played basketball in damn near 10 years. Why would they give him a $50 million contract? I can understand why they're mad, but at the same time, they ain't the market. Right? The people on Instagram ain't the market, because you ain't got $50 million to give me. But the Miami Heat, they got it. Okay, they're the market. You understand? So it's important that when you're a professional, you know exactly who your market is, because your market determines whether you have a job or not. They also determine, in conjunction with you, how much you get paid. And I think that matters, because we all got bills. The objective reality of the market, folks, is that the people in the market are who the people in the market are. What that means is, if someone on the outside disagrees with the person who is writing the check, it doesn't matter what the person on the outside thinks. And this is what I was telling people on social media. Like, there are people out there on social media with 300 followers talking about Rudy Gobert is a bum. And I'm like, who the fuck cares what you think about Rudy Gobert? Because he's making $45 million this year to play basketball. But you say he's a bum. How much money are you making playing basketball? I mean, just to compare. So if he's a bum and he's making $45 million, what are you? Again, I would just ask people, this is an open question. They didn't really have an answer to the question, because there is no answer, not one that suits their angle. So if someone on the outside doesn't like the fact that you're getting paid for the thing that you're doing, so what? When I talk about race hustlers, you heard me talk about race hustlers. And when I talk about the race hustlers out there, I believe it was episode 1842, but let me make sure that I'm right. The race hustler was episode 1824. I talk about the race hustler, and most people, when I use that term, they'll say that I'm like dissing people by calling them race hustlers, but I'm not actually dissing them. I'm just pointing out what they're doing and actually giving them a compliment, because race hustle, when I say race hustle, the reason why I use the word hustle, because there's money to be made in race hustle. Ibram X. Kendi, excellent race hustler, at least for the time that he lasted. Robin DiAngelo, great race hustler. She wrote a book called White Fragility, if you're not familiar with it. There are many other race hustlers. I'm not going to mention them all by name, at least not today. But there's a lot of money to be made in race hustling. And the market for race hustling are the people who are willing to pay for it. See, the people who are just going to diss it and laugh at it and talk shit about it, like me, I ain't the market. So the race hustler doesn't really have to pay attention to me. They can just ignore me and keep making their money, because there are people who are going to pay them regardless of what people like me say. You understand? So you need to know who your market is, and you don't have to pay any attention to people who are not in the market if you don't want to. It's hard for many human beings to do, but you don't have to. So if someone on the outside doesn't agree, it doesn't matter, because they ain't got no money. They ain't got the checkbook. At least they're not willing to open theirs to give it to you. In business, the most relevant person is the person who has the ability to write you a check. Does everybody understand this? Is anyone unclear on this? Does anybody need me to say it again? In business, the most relevant person is the person who has the ability to write you a check. When I say write you a check, what I mean is give you money. So however they do it, whether they do it by their credit card, whether they hand you some cash, whether they do a transaction on the computer, they do Apple Pay, they'll get my point. If any of you who's in sales understands the concept, or any of you who is in sales, you understand the concept of looking for, when you're trying to sell something, let's say you reach out to a company and you're trying to make a sale, who's the person you're trying to get in touch with? Who's the person you actually want to talk to when you're making a sale? Everyone knows the answer. If you're in sales, you know the answer. The answer is just a 2-word phrase, and we all know what it is. It's the decision maker. That's the person you're looking for, the decision maker. When we use that phrase, decision maker, who are we referring to when we say a decision maker? We're talking about the person who has the power to write a check. That's the person you want to talk to when you're in sales. You're selling anything, you want to talk to the person who has the power to write a check. When I talk to people about even something as simple as joining Work on Your Game University, I want to talk to a person who's a decision maker. Usually that's the same person I'll be coaching. They have the power to make the decision, and they have the power to write the check. That's the person I want to talk to. Now, if there's someone else involved in the decision, if your spouse or your CMO or your CFO or whoever, they had to be part of the decision. I want them on the conversation when we're talking in the first place. If they're not on the call, we're not having a call. I've made this mistake in the past, by the way. I had a long conversation with a person, and at the end of the conversation, I made them an offer, and they said, well, I got to talk to my CFO. And I was mad at myself. Not mad at them. I was mad at myself because I should have gotten clear on that before we had the conversation. But we updated our system, in the university to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Everybody catching everything I'm saying here? I hope you are catching just these little things that I'm not even emphasizing, but y'all should be catching this stuff. So when you say decision maker, we're talking about the person who can write a check. You need to know who this person is, and it's your number one objective when you're in sales. Because if you're talking to a person who's not a decision maker, you are wasting your breath because you're going to have to get the exact same presentation all over again to the person who is the decision maker. Don't waste time. Once you identify that person, unless they get swapped out, the objective reality that's the person you got to sell to. That person. That person is the objective reality. So their opinion is the objective reality, if you get what I'm saying. All right, with that said, the market in the NBA are the 30 NBA teams because they're the teams who can pay you money. They all have the ability to pay you money. So when it comes to Rudy Gobert, his market are the 30 owners of the 30 teams in the NBA. And Shaquille O'Neal is not part of the market because Shaquille O'Neal is not a check writer on an NBA team. I believe he's a part owner of one of the teams. I believe the Sacramento Kings, the last that I heard. But he's not the check writer for the Kings. It's not like he's paying the salaries of the players. The person who pays the salaries of the players is a different guy in the Sacramento Kings organization. He's the decision maker, not Shaq. You get what I'm saying? So Rudy Gobert does not need to respond to anything that Shaq says if he doesn't want to. He probably did and would, but he doesn't have to because it has no bearing on the money that he makes. And we are in the business of making money. Those of you who call yourselves professionals, by definition. There are 30 decision makers when it comes to the NBA, and as long as you can get one of them to offer you a contract, you're in business. If you can't get any of them to offer you a contract, you are out of business. And Shaq's been out of business since 2008. So if you can't get one of them to give you a deal, again, what does it matter what you have to say? The objective reality of how all businesses work is that you need to be talking to the people who can pay you, and what they think is all that matters. When it comes to your career and your business, you can't get anyone in the industry to give you money, then you are out of the industry. That's the game. Everybody got it? Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the market is never wrong. Number 2, you are worth what the market will bear combined with what you choose to accept. Important that you get both sides of this equation. You are worth what the market will bear, i.e. what people are willing to pay, combined with what you choose to accept. Just because someone's willing to pay an amount doesn't mean you got to take it. You just say no. You say, no, I'm not taking it. You could if you want to. If you don't like the story that the market is telling you, change your approach so you can get a different answer. So let's say you go to the market and say, I want to sell this for $10,000, but the market says we'll pay you $1,000. You don't like that. You don't have to accept the $1,000 because, again, it's what the market will bear, which is $1,000, combined with what you accept. So if you don't accept $1,000, then you can go back to the drawing board and come back with a different approach. Okay, you wouldn't bear $10,000 for this presentation. Okay, let me present it a different way. And the market says, okay, we'll give you $5,000. You don't like that. You go back to the drawing board, come back again. Says, okay, I want $10,000. The market says, okay, we'll give you $10,000 for that. You accept the $10,000. That's what you're worth. Now, if you had accepted $5,000 or you accepted $1,000, then that's what you're worth. What you accept is who you are. So the market will tell you what it will give you. You don't have to say yes. You can say, no, I'm good, and go back to the drawing board. Most people can't do that because they're a scarcity mindset, but there's nothing stopping you from doing it. So if you don't like the story the market is telling you, change your approach or change markets. You bring something to one market, the market says, well, I'll give you $1,000 for that, but you want $10,000. Maybe you take the same thing to a different market, and there are many people who give you $10,000. They'll say, hey, I feel like I got a steal for $10,000. You should be charging $20 for this. So sometimes you got to change your approach. Sometimes you got to change your market. Understand that it is you who adjusts, not the market. That's the key. The adjustment is not made by the market. The adjustment is made by you. You adjust. So write this down on your vision board, on your bathroom mirror. The market wants what the market wants. It is your job to give the market what it wants, not what you want to give it, and hope that the market adjusts to you. Don't hope that the market adjusts to you. You adjust to the market. Maybe sometimes the market will adjust in your favor, but you can't bank on that because it might not, because the market doesn't really care about you. But you care about you, so you should make adjustments for you. Any exceptions that you learn about or hear about where the market adjusts to a person are the exceptions that prove the rule. And most of the time, that's not even what's happening. The market just adjusts, period, and just happens to work in your favor. It's not adjusting because of you. Market doesn't say, oh, well, Mike is unhappy. Let's adjust so that Mike's happy. That's not how it works. It's not the way business works. Maybe that works in one of your college campus safe spaces at some liberal university. It doesn't work in real life. Everybody with me here? Good. So exceptions, as I said, prove the rule. They don't disprove the rule. So let's put this in context so you understand it. Going around the frame of the story, I used the introduction. When I talked about Shaquille O'Neal and his fans seeming to believe that it's fucked up that this guy, Rudy Gobert, can make $200 million while Shaq, his biggest contract was for $120 million or something like that. Now, again, I already told you, Shaq's a better player than Rudy Gobert. I disagree about the money discrepancy. The inconvenient truth and the unfair reality of life is that the NBA has more money now than it had 20 years ago when Shaq was playing. That's just what it is. Now, it sucks for Shaq because he could make more money if he was playing now. That's the truth. He could have made 3 times more money if he was playing now than during the time that he played. But it's still true. Just because the truth is fucked up doesn't mean it's not the truth. Let me say that again. Just because the truth is fucked up does not mean it's not the truth. And many people want to dismiss the truth because they don't like it. But it doesn't change it from being the truth because there's only one truth. The truth is not optional. It's not something you can take or leave. It is what it is, just like the weather. You can't say, I don't like the weather today. Let me push a button and get different weather. No, it doesn't work like that. You got to deal with it as it is. The market has expanded, widened, and the numbers have gotten bigger in basketball. That's the reality. And the result of that reality is that players who are lesser than Shaq can make more money than Shaq did. They can make twice as much money as Shaq, even though Shaq was twice as good as them. That's the reality. And again, if I was in Shaq's shoes, I could understand how he's annoyed and perturbed about this reality and frustrated maybe, knowing that he's missing out on a whole lot of money that he could have easily gotten had he been born 20 years later. And understand life ain't fair. All right, this is what it is. Is it fair? Let me ask you a question. Is it fair that some girl who has an OnlyFans account makes 10 times more money than a kindergarten teacher? Is that fair? My answer is yes, it's fair because that's the market. That's my answer. But many people say that's terrible. That's fucked up. Well, you call it what you want. It's still the truth. Again, just because it's not fair, or you think it's not fair, or you think it is fair, it doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't matter what you think is fair. Honestly, it doesn't. I've done many episodes where money is the subject on this show. I can't even reference them all, but I'll tell you that we have organized and, again, continue to organize them in the back end of our university. But I talk about this from many different angles when it comes to business, money making, and mindset, all 3 together. One principle you should etch onto your brain is that money does not have a moral conscience. Money does not possess a moral conscience. What does that mean? It means you don't make money by being a good person, and you don't lose money by being a bad person. Even though many people have these superstitions. So he made money because he's a good person. No, he didn't. You ever heard a story of a bad person making a whole lot of money? All right. Have you ever seen or known or come across a really good person who makes no money? Of course you have. So money does not have a moral conscience. Is it morally correct that some OnlyFans girl who takes pictures of her feet and has sex on camera makes more money than a kindergarten teacher? She makes more in a month than a kindergarten teacher makes in a year. Is that fair? Is that morally upstanding that is the reality? We know that that's true, right? So where's the morals in that? There are none. It doesn't matter because money doesn't care about morals. Money moves for money reasons, not for moral reasons. So money makes its decision based on money's thought patterns, not your human thought patterns. And this is how a player who's not as good as Shaq can make twice as much money. In business, you are worth what you can command in the open market combined with what you are willing to accept. And if you don't like what the market is offering, change your offerings or move yourself to a different market. The market does not adjust to you, you adjust to the market. Okay? The market does not care about your personal preferences or what you agree with. Moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is market is never wrong. Number 3. Many people do not like hearing or are unwilling to accept what I'm sharing here today because too many of you have been taught and conditioned to default to your feelings and emotions rather than defaulting and submitting yourself to objective reality and what is clearly in front of you. All humans have this issue, just some people have it worse than others. All of us have it though. I beseech you to fix this issue immediately and address it immediately. This includes people who are 50 and 60 years of age, like Shaquille O'Neal, on social media hating on a current player because that player is not as good as him but is making more money than he did. Remember that facts don't care about your feelings, ladies and gentlemen. The good thing about all of this is that the market is not like the average person. All right, the market does not have mood swings, menstrual cycles, bad days, and it doesn't have individual personal preferences. So the market doesn't hate on anybody. The market will not try to block you. The market will not try to ban you or censor you or stop you from getting money. The market doesn't do any of those things. Humans will do all of those things. The market will not do any of those things. The market always tells you exactly what it wants and exactly what it doesn't want. So if you don't like the conversation that the market is having with you right now, the good thing is you can get that objective feedback from the market and make your necessary adjustments immediately. If you are unwilling to make adjustments, then you have no one to blame and no one to point the finger at other than the person in the mirror. This is how business works. This is how life works. The market is always telling you the truth. Whether you choose to accept it or not is a different story. But the market is always objectively telling you what it is. So you just need to get control of your emotions and stop letting your emotions take the wheel of your vehicle, and use your emotions as a gas pedal, but use your logic and reasoning as a steering wheel, which I talk about all the time. And again, Shaquille O'Neal, who knows, he's kind of being a little bit tongue in cheek, but I think he was also being a little bit serious and dissing some of these current players. But he and you should take a note from what I'm telling you here today and understand that your personal feelings have no bearing on what the market believes. Let's recap today's class. Was again, the market is never wrong. Point number, I'm losing my place here. Point number one, the market is the weather, is an objective reality, is not an opinion. The market is just the people who can and will pay you money for what you are offering, and those are the people who you need to please if you want to make money or make more money. Number two, you're worth what the market will bear combined with what you are willing to accept. Simple as that. If you don't accept it, then you don't have to take it. And if you don't accept it, you have to make your adjustments. Understand the market does not adjust to you. You adjust to the market. And number three, many people don't like hearing or are unwilling to accept what's being shared here because too many of you have been taught and conditioned to default to your emotions and your feelings. Remember that facts don't care about your feelings, and the truth is a higher level than the fact. You need to default to the truth of what is actually happening. The objective truth, objective reality of the market is telling you exactly what it believes you are worth right now in the moment. You can change what you are offering. You can change how you present it. You can change what you're willing to accept, and that will change your conversation with the market. Remember that the market does not have, money does not have a moral conscience. Being a good person will not make you more money. Being a bad person will not make you less money. I'm not saying become a bad or good person because of it. What I'm saying is you shouldn't be expecting that you're going to get something from the market just because of those things, because those are not the criteria that the market or money uses to make its own decisions. You need to speak the language of money, not speak the language of humans. Two different things. All that said, folks, make sure you text here in my community. Also, workonyourgameuniversity.com. If you'd like to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach. That's where it happens. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can see some things being said by people who are already working with and see how you can get yourself involved and take it to the next step. Work on your game. Dre, all